This is kind of a cheat, so I'm going to do two at the same time, but I'll lead with Six by 24/7 Spyz. 24/7 Spyz was a band formed in South Bronx, New York City, 1986. The band largely functions and centers around guitarist Jimmy Hazel and bassist Rick Scattor. Now, they kind of got big in the mid to late 80s, largely due to the success of bands like Living Colour. They had a few minor successes, but grunge kind of undermined what they were doing, because they were definitely doing more of a very dexterous, kind of funky, genre-fluid, hard rock. One thing to note, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this when I talk about these albums, 24/7 Spyz was doing rapping over rock guitars long before a lot of white guys were doing it. During one of the band's many lineup changes, they ended up on Enemy Records in Germany because they were pretty big in Europe. And coming out in the mid-90s, right around the time bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Deftones and a lot of the new metal bands that were largely influenced by a lot of what 24/7 Spyz was doing in the 80s and early 90s. There's a lot of really cool tonal shifts to this album that I think makes it my favorite of their albums, actually. There's a lot of really cool down-tuned guitars. Six was largely produced by Jimmy Hazel and Wayne Kenyatta Richardson. I love the tone on this album. It's awesome. In addition to a lot of the funkier, heavy rock stuff that's kind of 24/7 Spyz's trademark, but one thing I love the most about this album is that when it gets heavy, it gets really heavy. Continuing kind of a trend for the band, the first track, which is just this weird self-promoting hype man type track called Spyz in the House.
Well, it seems to me that you've been waiting, hoping for the crunch to meet the rap anticipating. So today I spread these words around the nation. Put on your boots, a wide and let out some frustration.
It's just got this, it's got this really nice, just funky beat. It gets really thrashy, and then it kind of, doubles up time and doubles up time again, and then eventually just ends up with this really cool D beat. My Toza really just handles tracks on the album that I love. The first three tracks on this album are amazing. Spyz in the House are Love and Peace, really cool, kind of upbeat, up-tempo, heavy rock, heavy metal song, but just kind of has this great breakdown, pretty dirty, and it takes advantage of those lower tunings. Jimmy Hazel's an amazing guitarist. The third song, Yeah x3, features a guest vocal spot from King's ex-vocalist Doug Pinnick. If I have one criticism of this album, it's really front-loaded. The first probably 6 or 7 songs are really great. Eyes Don't Lie is pretty good, but Simple Minded Simon, one of the Rick Scattor penned songs on there, Simple Minded Simon is a really good song too. Definitely, one of their more overtly political songs. Way through, the album really changes pace and goes a lot more mid-tempo R&B and soul, kind of soft rock, which, it works. But then the final third of the album really goes back to the heavy stuff, and the European version of the album ends with 3 songs. It's got a really great song written by Jimmy Hazel called Click, kind of a really rap metal-ish song talking about critiquing hip-hop culture, but then ends with covers of 7 and 7 Is by Love, and then the last song is a cover of The Association's Along Comes Mary. In the United States, Six was released on a different label, What Are Records, under the title Heavy Metal Soul by the Pound. Heavy Metal Soul by the Pound also ends differently. It does not have the 2 covers that Six does, but instead has original songs Earth and Sky and Save the World. I actually prefer Six better, just because I do love the 2 covers, especially the Love cover. The album would definitely be Spyz in the House, Love and Peace, Yeah x3. I think Simple Minded Simon's excellent. I think No Hope For, N-Words, For Sale, Click. I love Click. Click is really good. Which version of the album you should buy? I don't know. Personally, I think you should buy whatever version of the album you can find. It's kind of hard. A lot of the band stuff is out of print. If you can find one of the Enemy, versions of Six, definitely do it. But if all you can do is find Heavy Metal Soul by the Pound, still an excellent album. Definitely grab that.